This week, Columbus voters said yes to nearly $2 billion in new investments for housing, safety, and the city's future. Ahead, Mayor Andrew Ginther explains what this bond package really means for growth in the heart of Boomtown and how soon we'll see shovels in the ground. Plus, from cornfields to combat drones, one of the most advanced defense projects in the country is breaking ground on a second site in Pickaway County. An in-depth look at how Andero's Arsenal 1 could change the future of Central Ohio's workforce. And as Central Ohio grows, one small city feels left behind. This week, we take you down to Logan, where factory doors are closing, jobs are vanishing, and leaders are fighting to keep their community alive. The other side of Boomtown, just ahead. Central Ohio certainly is growing. We all can see it, and we all feel it. So here's what we uncovered this week in Boomtown. Central Ohio's music scene, it is hot. From Buckeye Country Superfest to the Sonic Temple Festival at historic Crew Stadium. Also, concerts of pretty much every kind in between. The music business is booming.
I mean, we have $1.3 billion in our industry, but we know that we can double that based on our conversations with the economists that we worked with for this report. And how do we invest in a smart and strategic way so that we're really building it from the ground up and we're getting more money into the pockets of those musicians who are the entrepreneurs doing this work.
It is a question we will dive deeper into in just a bit. But first, we do want to say thank you for joining us for This Week in Boomtown. I'm Angela Ann. Let's get to some of the big headlines from this week. Check this out. This week, we got a behind-the-scenes look at the new City Hall in Grandview Heights, 100 years since the original council building was built. Now, this will also house police and fire services for the city. The new building on Goodale Boulevard, just north of Dublin Road. We asked the Grandview Heights police chief how this new, bigger facility will better serve the public.
They were working in an area that was really less than 200 square feet. With really one console where we squeezed two into it. So they were literally back to back on their chairs. If they spun in their chairs, they were hitting each other. They were walking all over each other with their phones and their radios. So this gives some room for them to spread out, but also adequately do their jobs safely with the space and the ability and the equipment and the technology to be able to do so and make us all feel comfortable, hopefully including the residents.
Well, city leaders say ribbon-cutting dedication ceremony will take place on November 18th, so look for that. Over in Bexley now, city leaders are looking ahead at how to grow smart. Just this week, they adopted a new land use strategy, basically a playbook for what future growth could look like for this landlocked city. The plan highlights some of the key spots like Main Street in the West District near Alum Creek and Schneider Park, which is the heart of Bexley's business area. Well, the vision, more mixed-use spaces, new pocket parks, public art, and easier parking for shoppers and visitors. The plan also outlines ideas for the East District of Main Street, North Cassidy Avenue, and Livingston. Well, now over to Licking County. This week we learned of a major infrastructure upgrade along 161 in Pataskala. This video is from a ribbon-cutting ceremony for a new $6 million water tower. It is part of a broader plan to prepare Jersey Township for all the growth that's coming to the region. That water tank you saw can hold 750,000 gallons, helping improve water pressure, fire protection, and reliability for homes and businesses. The November elections have come and gone, and this week Columbus voters took to the polls approving the city's $1.9 billion bond package. It allows the city to borrow that amount of money for public projects like more affordable housing, public safety, more parks and rec, and of course, new infrastructure as well. So here's how all that money breaks down. You can see how affordable housing, public utilities, and a public service are getting the lion's share of that massive bond package. And when it comes to a growing region, housing is almost always the #1 topic, no matter where you live. There's no question the need for affordable housing is huge. 10 TV's Colin Dorsey sat down with Columbus Mayor Andrew Ginther this week, just one day after that bond package passed. Here's what the mayor told us about what comes next.
Mayor, it's great to have you with us here on This Week in Boomtown. And we're talking about something that really affects every single person who lives, plays, and just comes to visit the city of Columbus. And it's that bond package. And you've talked over and over that this is going to get those, quote, shovels in the ground and help really address the city's growing housing issue. How quick can we expect this to happen?
You're going to see a lot of action very quickly, particularly as capacity becomes available. We've been able to build thousands of units with previous supported bond packages and really focusing on affordable housing and even permanent supportive housing for folks coming out of homelessness who need more wraparound services than just a unit. But you're going to see thousands of more units come up out of the ground, get into the pipeline to help us deal with this regional supply crisis. And this is going to really help the regional housing coalition that is going to be embedded at the Columbus Partnership. It's a new P3 that's going to help us to get those 200,000 units that we need at every price point over the next 10 years in our region. So this is a critically important part of that.
Right. And, you know, the Columbus voters passed those bonds in 2019 and 2022.
Correct.
And you mentioned that it's helped build about, what, 4,000 units already. And this new money, will we completely reach that goal with this latest bond package?
Well, I think, you know, what we're looking at is we need 200,000 units at all price points. And so we need market rate, we need workforce, and we need affordable units. So this money is really going to focus on more affordable housing units. And our hope is through this new P3, working with the Columbus business community, we're going to help to dramatically increase the number of both workforce and market rate housing, because we need all the above. This supply crisis is really hurting the poorest of our neighbors and folks on fixed incomes more now, but it's continuing to affect families throughout the region, and that's why we need to get more units in the pipeline.
Yeah, and another large sum of this bond package is going toward public utilities improvements, because if we're building all these houses, you have to have power, gas, and water running.
Yeah, we're planning for the future. We're going to grow by a third in the next 30 years, and so we need a fourth water plant to make sure that we have safe, clean drinking water for our neighbors of today and our neighbors of tomorrow.
And is this really looking to future-proof the city? Is this enough to look 10, 15, 20 years down the road?
It is a great start, but as you know, we do these bond packages about every 3 or 4 years. So the people of Columbus, as you indicated, supported these both in 2019 and 2022. It's a way for us to invest in ourselves, create jobs, invest in infrastructure, make our city safer, healthier, and stronger without raising taxes. We haven't levied a property tax since 1956, and so we're excited about the overwhelming support. I have a grateful heart today. The people of Columbus overwhelmingly supported this effort, and I just want to thank the people of Columbus for coming out and voting for their future.
Yeah, and let's talk about the public safety aspect of that as well, because as people move in, they want to live in a safe city. And
that's right.
We found out from Columbus Police Monday that 68 homicides for the year. It's the lowest we've had by this point in the year in quite some time. Looking at last year, it was 103 by now.
Yeah.
How will this money be used to continue that trend?
Most importantly, it's going to invest in new police stations, fire stations, and also vehicles for our first responders. We're going to really need to make sure that we have the best resources and tools to make sure our officers and our firefighters have what they need to keep us safe.
Yeah, and outside of the effort that the city put behind this bond package was very heavily supported by the Opportunity City PAC, and some of the largest donors to that PAC were developers and real estate handlers in this city who have a lot of hands in the city's affordable housing market, whether that be Woda Cooper Companies, the Wagenbrenner Brothers, and the Columbus Board of Realtors. When it comes to how the city chooses to spend that money and with whom, how do we ensure that money is being spent fairly?
Well, I think you take a look at the track record, and then you also take a look at this regional housing coalition that's going to, get up and going here in the next 12 months. That's going to be another great P3. We're going to involve folks from all walks of life to make sure that this money is spent wisely, and that we provide the oversight and transparency to make sure that voters can support these issues in the future as well, with confidence.
Yeah, and kind of that one final question, we've talked about, bond money, it's not magic money.
That's
it
correct.
does have to be paid back, and that's, a lot of people have had that question of, well, I think it's going to raise my taxes, but the city says it's not. Explain to people how this won't do that.
So we created the Special Income Tax Fund, the SIT fund, decades ago. And that's why we haven't levied a property tax, even though we've had very robust capital projects and capital budgets for decades in the city. So we take a quarter of every dollar in income tax revenue, put it into the SIT, and that serves as debt service. As we have capacity available, the resources available to issue bonds, sell bonds, issue debt, to help fund these projects, then the debt service comes out of the SIT. So it's a way for us to leverage our AAA bond rating from all three rating agencies, one of the few cities in the country that have that. And by having this public voted debt and support and authority, it helps us save millions and millions of dollars of interest without raising taxes.
All right, kind of the final last open-ended question. Anything else about this bond package you think is important to add?
I'm really excited about some of the investments we're going to make in street resurfacing, bridging, parks and recreation, adding green space, being able to renovate additional rec centers and pools around the community, all the things that matter to families and help impact our quality of life. I'm really excited about the future.
All right, Mayor Ginther, thank you so much for
You
joining
bet.
me today.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it.
Take a look at your screen. It won't be long before we see these autonomous drones getting tested over the skies of Pickaway County. Anduril is building its Arsenal 1 facility near Rickenbacker International Airport. And by July next year, the weapons manufacturer will encompass a footprint of 5 million square feet. There is a lot of ground to cover ever since Anduril announced it was coming to Central Ohio at the start of the year. That growth certainly exponential. I had the chance to sit down with one of Anduril's top leaders, and he explained to me how this global company plans to embed itself into Central Ohio as our region booms.
One Tango West container in the open.
Weather's coming in heavy. What's the plan?
You are seeing the future of America's defense. And part of that future will be built here in Pickaway County. What was once farmland is now home to one of the most advanced defense manufacturing projects in the country. So when you look at this space, what do you envision?
Well, envision eventually tens of thousands of unmanned systems being produced by Ohio workers coming out of our facilities, going to U.S. and allied militaries.
Zach Mears is Anduril's Senior VP of Strategy. We sat between what will soon become Arsenal 1's Building Number 1 and the start of Buildings 2 and 3. The plan is to hyperscale the production of autonomous weapons and systems like Ghost, Barracuda, autonomous surveillance systems like Sentry Towers, and other AI-powered products from electronic warfare systems to fighter jets. With 4,000 promised jobs, Anduril is Ohio's largest job creation project in history. Being here in Pickaway County strategically, then you could be pulling not just from Franklin or say Fairfield, but really to counties to our east and southeast.
Yes, we expect to push as far down near Cincinnati, around Hamilton and Mason. We already have interest from employees up in Cleveland and around Akron. And for many of them, they want to stay and live where they are. They believe that their community is their fabric, but they want to have a job that excites them, and they're willing to travel upwards of an hour, hour and a half to do so.
Mears says Anduril is moving fast, but he understands the hesitation from locals about what's to come. Challenges like new roads and housing.
Well, it'd be foolish to say it's not a concern. It's been an issue, not just here locally, but across the state for some time. We've been engaged with Jobs Ohio, with the Columbus Partnership, with the local townships about housing plans and housing development. Communities are very clear in sharing with us their plans so that we know and can help point our employees to places where they might find good affordable housing around the campus.
Anderl says it is already investing in Ohio's workforce pipeline, teaming up with high schools, technical centers, and universities to prepare the next generation.
Well, if you're not reaching kids from 6th grade to 8th grade, transitioning to high school, especially for those kids that are interested in a technically oriented trade, you lose that interest and that ability to then pursue that certification that is ultimately going to pull them into this campus behind us.
Well, now that we have a better sense of what is being built at the Arsenal One site, here's a closer look at the job's impact. Anderl confirmed to us last week that it does plan to have 50 people on its payroll by the end of this year. Initial production is expected by mid-July next year with 125 more employees. And Anderl added that it is on track to add 4,000 employees over the next 10 years. Well, the effort to train the next generation of Boomtown's workforce is spreading across our region. This week in Fairfield County, Governor Mike DeWine joined local leaders to cut the ribbon on a new career center. This is a $4 million project designed to prepare students for high-demand jobs in welding, broadband, and power line work. The 34,000 square foot facility will add space for up to 200 more career tech students every year. Here's what Governor DeWine said at that ribbon cutting.
We're here at the Fairfield Career Center, a brand new building. Just had the opportunity to talk to a number of the students. Some of them were doing welding, some of them were creating the food that we're eating here today, but all of them are really excited about the career that they have ahead of them. And we asked the legislature to set this money aside because there was, frankly, a waiting list to get in here. There was a waiting list to get into certain programs. And we want every kid to be able, every child to be able to kind of live their dream and to get the training that they want to have. And so this is a great place, and they're doing great work here.
Well, unfortunately, the same cannot be said for all Central Ohio communities. The city of Logan, just 50 miles southeast of Columbus, is raising concern after the expected closure of one of its largest employers, threatening jobs and a city budget already stretched thin. As tourists pass through Logan headed for caves, trails, and cabins in Hocking Hills, many feel their city has been overlooked. So, this week, 10 TV's Bryn Caswell went to Logan to better understand the local plea for help and the larger fight to be included in Central Ohio's boom.
Tucked in between the trees and rolling high grounds of Hocking Hills sits the city of Logan. It's a quaint town right off US 33, home to just over 7,000 people. But there's a problem. Rumbling of factories and semis traveling along Front Street is silencing, a reflection of the intensifying industry drought the city says it's facing.
Here we are losing a factory, so that's huge. For a city the size of Logan, a big loss.
Starting December 1st, Tops LLC, a paper product manufacturer formerly known as Smead, will begin shutting down all operations. Mayor Greg Fraunfelter says the closure will be catastrophic.
We had people that had been there 28 years. That made me mad because all of a sudden these people are turned out and they have no job, and jobs here in Hocking County right now are not plentiful. So this hurts.
The first blow to Logan was the closure of the Goodyear plant in the 90s. Fraunfelter believes the city never fully recovered from the loss of 400 jobs. The former Goodyear building has remained partially vacant for the last 30 years, despite some occasional distributors renting the building.
That was devastating too. My mom worked there. She put in 32 something like years, and she retired right before they went out.
Esther has lived in Logan her whole life. She retired from Smead 3 years ago after 44 years. And just like her mother retiring from Goodyear in time, Esther avoided Tops's layoffs.
Everybody was totally shocked. Yeah, because we never seen that coming. A lot of those people are young, and I'm sure they will all find jobs around the surrounding area, but they might have to travel a little bit.
And that's the central concern. City leaders say when Tops closes, the impact won't just be jobs lost inside the building, but the paychecks that will leave with them. Logan relies heavily on income tax revenue. And if workers are forced to find jobs outside the city, that money goes with them. Felter says they've run the numbers. Without new industry moving in, some city jobs and public services will likely be cut by 2026.
Losing this, we have to cut back on the amount of money for the street department, the water and sewer street crew, the money for the water treatment plant, the money for the wastewater treatment plant, the cemetery and parks crew.
As the parking lot at the former Goodyear site sits silent, just a few weeks, the building next door, Tops, will go quiet too. Another employer, gone. And city leaders hoping, praying that someone, some business will see what they see, a community ready to work.
10,000 people drive past Logan up 33 to go to jobs and drive back the same day or at the end of the week. So we have that many people bypassing. And if the city of Logan, which is very close to Columbus, if we can get something here, we may not have many people bypassing, especially if they're good jobs.
Well, the Columbus music scene is thumping and growing, pumping more than $1.3 billion every year into Central Ohio's economy. So, what's holding us back from booming into the next Nashville or even Austin? It is a question we hear often and a topic that came up this week during the weekly luncheon at the Columbus Metropolitan Club. Here's what music experts say needs to happen to turn Columbus into a major music city.
Gaping hole in the ecosystem, and for me as a music business professional, from the day before I arrived here, it was really noticeable that there's no music business infrastructure as such. We have recording studios, we have tons of artists, we have wonderful venues, we have a populace that enjoys music, but not to demean any of the embryonic record labels, we don't have a record label of significance. We don't have a major manager here that's active today. We don't have publishing companies. And the reason that so many artists have left the state physically, or even if they live here, their entire economic income stream benefits another state and city, is because we don't have those elements of an industry to offer.
However, the industry is completely different than 40 years ago. It is network, and through COVID, so much happened from afar on Zoom. We have people collaborating, musicians collaborating here with people in LA and New York, and that is something that we can capitalize on, and it's a relational thing that we can help our artists access and give them the opportunity to do that artist development here so that when they're ready, we can make those connections for them to jump right in. It doesn't mean that necessarily we have to have a big record label come here and set up shop.
I know there's always a lot of talk about like being the next Austin, the next Nashville, the next Atlanta, and it seems like to me that just trying to copy paste wouldn't really work because those places had a unique situation that they were cultivating. So then there's a question of like, what is our identity? Like you're bringing up
regional sounds. I think sounds have certain regions have sounds. Columbus and Ohio has had sounds before. The problem is that we don't rally behind it. We don't rally behind our heroes and put them on pedestals. That's why Bruce says they move away, because they don't feel the sense of community in Columbus. And believe it or not, we have a lot of professionals, big music professionals living right next door to you. We're not celebrating them.
I think funding is a big one that we're probably going to hear a lot about today. But I think it's also, not only is it funding, but it's how do we value the arts more? How do we make it, how do we convince government or local officials to view arts as essential part of our lives? Because, artists show up on people's best days, they show up on your worst days. You expect art and music for almost every event or celebration in your entire life, yet we don't view the people doing that as an essential part of the makeup of an economy.
Well, this discussion at the CMC was sponsored by Music Columbus. That's an advocacy group for artists and audience development, and it's been around for almost 10 years. The nonprofit works to build a thriving music community through several different ways. There's the Gift of Music program, which is a music instrument drive for kids who don't have access. Also, the Unheard program, which allows artists who don't have exposure the chance to perform on a stage. Another one of many programs is the Music Incubator, where artists can learn about legal and finance issues and some other key topics to help them succeed. And stay tuned for a program on December 13th. It's called Verge Fest, and that will have all of this and more. Well, living in a boomtown city can certainly be fun for so many people, but more things to do, more places to go. And while our region grows, so does its flavor. From new coffee chains to celebrity ice cream, Columbus's food and drink scene is booming right alongside the population. So finally, we leave you with this. This week marked the start to the first ever Columbus Restaurant Weeks. It's running from November 3rd until the 15th. Dozens of locally owned restaurants are now offering 3-course price-fixed dinners starting at $39, all part of a push to help independent restaurants thrive through the winter. But here's the bigger picture. Columbus is truly turning into a culinary hotspot. From Oregon's Dutch Bros opening 2 new drive-thrus in Columbus to Wolf's Ridge reviving the Worthington Inn with fresh energy and craft beer. Also, the East Market is adding 3 new vendors. And get this, even Selena Gomez is trying to break into the Columbus food scene with her Serendipity ice cream. It's now being scooped at Ohio Stadium and the Schottenstein Center. Now I'm a little hungry. But if you have questions related to Central Ohio's rapid growth, we do want to hear from you. Simply text us 614-460-3345. If you're watching us on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe, and you can always drop your questions right there in the comment section as well. We do want to thank you for watching This Week in Boomtown. I'm Angela Ann. We'll see you again next week.